Everybody call John Thune at the Senate. He's the leader of the Republican Party, and tell him to get this stuff approved. So we're fighting so that all voters must show voter ID. We're fighting so that all voters must provide proof of citizenship, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So President Trump has finally had enough with Senate Majority Leader Senator John Thune, the RINO in the Senate that's supposed to be leading, but he's failing on all fronts because the bills and the agenda that people voted for, they're still not being passed. For instance, the Save America Act, a lot of people have been demanding this bill. We're talking about President Trump. We're talking about Republicans. We're talking about voters all throughout the country have been asking for this bill for months, and the bill still hasn't been passed. And the question is why? And now we have President Trump going full nuclear on Senator John Thune and the rest of the RINOs in the Senate. Let us get into it by continuing with this video of President Trump calling out these RINOs in the Senate. Watch this.
And I have to say, Mike Johnson and Congress have done a great job, but we're having a hard time in the Senate. The Senate, what they're doing is just not right. Congress is going to pass it again. They passed it 3 times. They're going to pass it again. It's like the Senate is a place that you send things when you want them to die. We can't do this, and we're not going to take this any longer. We're not going to take it. You know, I'm trying to be nice, trying to be really nice. You saw we had a big victory last night in Arizona. I've had victories everywhere. But we're not going to be able to take it much longer when they can't get past voter ID, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots because they're crooked as hell.
That was President Trump calling out the Senate Republicans because they're failing to do what voters elected them to do. And the president is right because the House, they're working, they're passing bill after bill, and then those bills, they go to the Senate and then they die. You don't hear anything about these bills. And the question is, what are Senate Republicans doing? What are Senate RINOs doing? Because the Save America Act been sitting there for months, nothing. And the House, they have passed this bill like 20 different times. And if you listen to senators, especially the RINOs over there, like Senator John Thune, well, they're going to tell you they don't have the votes. Oh, the filibuster. And a whole litany of excuses that they've been giving people. And you heard it from the president. He's going increasingly impatient with these senators, especially the RINOs. And here we have President Trump calling for the filibuster to essentially be nuked. Because that is one of the reasons the RINOs they've been giving as to why they cannot pass this bill. But the Democrats, we know they've promised that when they get back in office, they're going to nuke the filibuster. And then that is going to be it. Our country's lost at that point.
They should do, very simple, a lot of you don't know about filibuster. They should terminate the filibuster and approve everything. Because the Democrats are going to do it. The Democrats are going to terminate the filibuster as soon as they have a chance. And then they're going to approve Puerto Rico and D.C. as a state. They got 4 more senators. They're going to end up with 12 more congressmen. They're going to get like 40 electoral votes. If they are allowed to do that, by that time I'll be sitting home. And I'm not a big crier. I don't think you want to see me cry, you know? There are some people, they do very well when they cry. But you don't want to see me cry. But I may be crying when I'll be sitting home and I'll say, I told them they got to really terminate the filibuster, get everything approved right away. Because you're going to have a stoppage. You're going to have a stoppage in September. The Democrats won't approve everything. They become deranged, like deranged Jack Smith. Remember that deranged sick puppy? They're deranged and they won't approve. You're going to have a shutdown in September. And in 2 years later, you have the debt ceiling bill. They would love it. I call it the 1929. You know what 1929 means? That was not a good year. And there's no reason for it. They should terminate the filibuster.
Let's just hope that it never gets to that point. And let's just hope that Republicans, they can figure out how to get the Save America Act passed. Because if the Democrats, they should ever take back power, where they're planning to make Puerto Rico a state, Washington, D.C. a state, and to pack the Supreme Court and a whole bunch of stuff that they're planning to do, if they ever should get back into power to do any of these things, the country is basically lost. At that point, it's lost. And to show you exactly what I'm talking about, here we have a reporting from about a day or two ago where in New Jersey, the governor of New Jersey, Democrat Mikey Sherrill, she came out and she announced that over 6,000 illegal immigrants or non-citizens were registered to vote. But according to the Democrats, no illegal immigrants were ever registered to vote. And a lot of those illegal immigrants were actually voting. But according to the Democrats, no illegal immigrants were ever voting. It's non-existent. It's a non-issue. And we had Elizabeth Warren responding to this where she completely melted down on camera. But watch this. And this is why we need the Save America Act passed. Watch this reporting.
A serious software error within New Jersey's Department of Motor Vehicles led to more than 6,000 non-U.S. citizens being registered to vote. That's according to Governor Mikey Sherrill on Tuesday. She says the system error happened between June 2023 and June of 2024.
When New Jerseyans applied for a driver's license or identification at the MVC, they were asked if they wanted to register to vote. In the case of this error, some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway.
Approximately 6,600 non-citizens were said to be registered, with preliminary evidence indicating fewer than 400 individuals cast ballots.
I have so many different questions in regards to what's going on in New Jersey and a lot of different states throughout the country. So you're telling me that non-citizens, I mean, you can have people that are green card holders or whatever, they're applying for driver's license. But what about illegal immigrants? Why are they getting driver's license? That's question number one. Question number two, what if someone that is a non-citizen actually put that they're a citizen? Will that it's automatically going to register them to vote, but they can lie that they're a citizen and then they're registered to vote, then they can vote. Why is that allowed? Why is that even allowed? Why are they not required to provide some proof of citizenship to prove that they are a citizen, especially if you're going to automatically register them to vote at the DMV? It just doesn't make sense at all what is going on in this country, all throughout the country, in these different states. How is that even possible? And here we have Elizabeth Warren melting down over the numbers that came out of New Jersey. And as I mentioned, what's being reported is that it's 6,000. That's what the governor is reporting. But according to President Trump, it's 35,000 illegal immigrants or non-citizens were registered to vote in New Jersey alone.
Hi, just a quick question for you. I know you're vehemently opposed to the Save America Act, but does the recent revelation in New Jersey with the aliens who are actually registered to vote change your opinion on getting that legislation passed?
Look, it is already illegal for someone who's not an American citizen to vote, period.
But
That's
there's
the
at
law.
least 400 aliens that did vote.
There are already laws to prevent that.
Well, do you
And
think
if
anything's gonna
people
happen?
have violated the law, then they should be prosecuted.
Do you think
Easy.
anything's actually going to
Easy.
happen? I thought Democrats always said that there's no evidence of
I
illegals
don't
voting.
understand why you want laws that are already there. That
they're not
makes
being-
no sense.
But I thought Democrats said illegals never vote, but obviously they do, right?
So Democrats, they're running out of talking points at this point, because at first they were saying illegal immigrants, they're not registered to vote, that this is a non-issue, it just doesn't exist at all. That the Save America Act is there to essentially solve a problem that doesn't exist. But now we have all these numbers coming out of New Jersey, coming out all throughout the country, showing how many non-citizens are registered to vote, how many non-citizens are actually voting. Now the Democrats, what they're saying is that, oh yeah, we already have laws against illegals or non-citizens voting. But the thing is, not because there are existing laws, it doesn't mean that the action has been prevented. Because if you think about it, there are laws preventing folks from doing drugs. There are laws preventing folks from committing crime. But at the same time, people still do those things. It doesn't mean we should leave it alone. And it's the same thing with the Save America Act. We need that bill so we can strengthen our elections, like requiring someone to show proof of citizenship before they're registered to vote or when they're registering to vote, and to show an ID right before they vote. So you don't have illegals or non-citizens actually voting in our elections. That is exactly why we need the Save America Act. And that brings us to the end of this video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below in regards to President Trump calling out John Thune. Do you think John Thune is doing a good job, or do you think John Thune should be replaced. Also, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And if you can hype the video, I would really appreciate it, but you don't have to. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you in the next video.